Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. You've heard the term soulmate before. Many of us have wondered, are we with our soulmate? Does our soulmate exist? Are there multiple people that could be your soulmate? And quite frankly, what is a soulmate? Let's even go there. We're going to talk to somebody that offers holistic healing in many different forms, spiritual coaching, therapeutic touch, Reiki, sound healing, so much more. And she runs deeper than I ever thought in the last couple of podcasts that we've done with Jamie Serrato, who's back with us. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. It's great to see you again.
You too. And I really want to get some more clarity on this whole soulmate thing. What is a soulmate?
Yeah, so we have many soulmates. They don't have to be romantic in nature. You can have a soulmate as a business partner. You can have a soulmate as your child, or you can have a soulmate as a friend. But a soulmate is someone who is part of the same soul family. So when God created souls, he created them in groups so that they would have companionship, so that they could incarnate together and work together to learn different lessons.
Wow. And thank you for addressing that a soulmate doesn't have to be a partner, romantic partner, that type of relationship. Never thought of that. We always think of that in just that one area.
Yeah.
Is a soulmate, and we talked about the soul contract before, is that part of it?
Yes. So from what I've been taught by Spirit is that about 80% of us will meet a soulmate at some point during our lifetime as a tool in a way to help our spiritual growth.
Wow. So you're saying that was destined to happen?
Yes, all soulmates, if you meet a soulmate, that was agreed upon prior to this lifetime. You agreed to meet that person. Now you have free will, so you could make decisions that would take you off course to not being a match for a particular soulmate, but generally these meetings will still happen, and then it's up to your free will kind of how the relationship will go from there.
Hmm. Would you say you know it when you experience it? Like, for example, if somebody presents themselves in your life, like this seems different, this person, whether it's a romantic relationship, business, whatever it might be. But is it also, the feeling of this is radically different than other relationships, and or I feel like I know this person?
Yes, there is a instant familiarity of feeling that you can be yourself with that person, that you know them at a deep level, even if it's your first meeting. So you may have had past lifetimes together, but that person
Hmm.
also shares like a core frequency that is similar to your own. So they feel like home because they are part of that same soul family. You all share a similar frequency.
So what if, going deep here, hang on, warning, what if you are connected to somebody in a relationship and the relationship just doesn't serve you in the way that it really should, but you have that vibrational connection. So there's something
Yeah.
there. There's good. That's good. But then there's other things that aren't that good within the relationship.
So in spirituality, we call that a karmic. Okay. So you can have karmic soulmates that are actually overall kind of negative relationships, but you feel extremely bonded to that person, and it can be difficult to break the connection,
Hmm.
even once you realize that you're not in a healthy relationship.
You said karmic, right?
Yes.
Is that loosely connected to the word karma?
Yes, so it's about learning lessons, right? So if you meet a karmic
Ah.
soulmate, that karmic soulmate is there to give you a lesson, right? Most people are either blessings or they are lessons, and karmic soulmates are usually lessons.
I never thought of it that way. Karma, we always think of karma bad, right? So it's so somebody does something, it's like, For them, that karma train's going to pull up. The karma police are going to be knocking on their door. Well, why would that even happen? It's so that they can learn a lesson from what they did. So I see what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yes, that's why it's important to have gratitude and appreciation for everyone who comes into your life, even if a relationship turns out to be difficult, if it ends in divorce, if it ends in, you needing to walk away and never see that person again for your own mental health.
Mm.
It's heartbreaking, but part of those lessons is about learning how to choose yourself and put your own well-being first rather than indulging in potentially toxic relationships just because it feels familiar or it makes you feel at home.
Yeah. And that familiar thing, that can run deep in many different areas. It could be reincarnation, it could be your upbringing. You're with somebody, you don't even realize it, but it feels like, your mom or dad, whatever it might be. So, and we're all creatures of habit. We all want that familiar feeling, that the facing the strange is uncomfortable. Um, I guess this in a bad relationship, and obviously there was some connection there for that relationship to take place. How do you, how do you, what are your suggestions on? Obviously, there's forgiveness that needs to get done.
Mhm.
And we've talked about this before, how impactful forgiving somebody is. You don't condone what they did, but you got to forgive them.
Mhm.
What are your suggestions on doing that? Not easy to do.
On forgiving a karmic soulmate that
Yeah.
you went through something difficult with,
Yep.
well, you have to be patient with yourself. It may not happen overnight. My ex-husband was a karmic soulmate. It took me probably a couple of years to get over him and to choose myself. I don't blame him in any way for what we went through or what happened because I had important lessons that I needed to learn through him. And he signed up to play that part and be that karmic soulmate and show me where I wasn't loving myself. I think taking your time is important, getting therapy, or if you need to see a mental health care professional, if you need to maybe be on some type of medication for a time to help your mood. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. We are here breaking generational cycles, right?
Mhm.
So you are not only processing your own grief and your own pain through that relationship, but many generations behind you that weren't able to overcome that situation.
Well, that's just great, but not really. Um, and I'm learning that more and more in my journey. Just what you said, that there are things from your generational lines. I'm not talking about genetics or just about genetics. There's
Mhm.
other things going in there. And I'm not, honestly in my life piecing things together, trying to figure it all out. Why is this taking place? Why did that take place? Why did that happen in the way that it did?
Mhm.
If it was on a scale from 1 to 10, and 10 being hands down, absolutely most of what we deal with is generational karmic situations, lessons that weren't learned, and you need to learn them now. 10 being that's everything. What would you put that number at?
What are you asking me to number?
If 10 is the absolute bottom line of karmic from generational situations that we need to go through, everything,
Mhm.
everything
Yeah.
is obviously it's not, I would assume. But
No,
what would
no.
you put it at?
It's going to be unique to you and your sole purpose. Okay. So, let's say you were raised in a really emotionally stable family. Everybody was healthy. Everybody had good boundaries. There was no codependence, nothing at all. You may not be assigned to transmute very much karma. Okay. Other people chose to incarnate into families that had more baggage, right?
Hmm.
Or more, negative energy that needs to be transmuted out of the genetic line. So usually these are stronger souls, volunteer souls who are choosing to take on that mission. For myself personally, I would say I was at a 10. I just recently really finished clearing all of the generational karma that I had to clear, but not everybody chooses to take on that much work.
How do you know that you cleared it all?
I was told, I get messages from the divine, from my spirit guides. I also receive signs and synchronicities from the universe. And, I'm very practiced in receiving messages and knowing what's for me and what is accurate. And I have received the message that I am done clearing the genetic karma. And because of that, I can now step more into my soul's purpose and my soul's mission rather than doing, let's say, cleanup work.
Mm. How do you know what your soul's purpose is?
I'm still learning, and I do believe that the divine often wants to surprise us. Okay, so it may not want to give you all the puzzle pieces, all the signs of what it is you're going to be doing. And this also helps you to stay living in the present moment. If I knew exactly where I was going to be in 2, 3 years, I might be so focused on that I'm not focused on the present moment. And I'm kind of jumping out of my body, jumping ahead, worrying, overthinking. Whereas kind of not knowing, but feeling and staying connected into your heart and feeling that vibration of your soul is going to lead you down the pathway to your soul's purpose, even if on a conscious level you don't cognitively know where you're going.
Would you say that living in this moment or in the moment is the most important thing? Like you just said, you started to get ahead of yourself. Like, I wonder if this is, and then of course we go back, look at that and the lesson there, maybe trying to piece it together, and we all do it. We're all going to go, this way. We're going to go to that way, the past, the present, all that. But is it really, really super important to come back to center the moment now?
Yes, there is a lot of power in the present moment because when we are not incarnated on earth, there is no time, right? So when you're in the present moment, you're connected to everything. You're connected to the future, you're
Hmm.
connected to the past, and you have more power over your consciousness because you have more awareness of yourself as a multidimensional being.
Wow. Okay. Never thought of that. That when you're living in the moment, that is giving you connection to the future and the past. We don't look at it that way, but if you're purely clear on things in this moment, you have that clarity of those things around you.
Yep,
Hmm.
absolutely. I had a spiritual teacher a long time ago say a quote something like, when you're connected to the present moment, you have access to more information. So, for example, if something isn't working now, like a relationship where that other person just doesn't get you,
Hmm.
if you're in the now, you're connected to the future too. So if that person doesn't get you now, you don't see eye to eye now, most likely you never are going to, okay? Because you have access to all information in the present moment and what it is you need to know.
I'm a firm believer in everything you need to know. You already know it. It's in you.
Yes.
It's
You
there.
you
Everything.
you know what you need to know when you need to know it, right? So you may not know right now what is your sole purpose, but when you need to take the next step towards it, you will know.
And do you believe that, let's say you have to make a choice, whether it's choice A or B or whatever it might be, that you pretty much know what the answer is?
Yes, that's why, although like I can do psychic readings and I have done them, I'm a firm believer in you knowing the answer and that you know what's best for you. You know what choice you actually need to make. And sometimes people just need a little bit of confirmation or alignment to the present moment so they can find that information. But I do believe we have it within us.
I believe so too. And I see it more and more in my journey, how it comes up and presents itself. But of course your head gets in the way many times, and then you put, no, that
Yeah.
can't be it. That's either that's too easy, or you
Yeah.
put logic in it. And I also try to run fact based. So I take facts and kind of back it up, not looking for the answer, but it's like, that does seem reasonable how that is connected with the feeling that I have inside. That fact goes with what I'm feeling. So it's almost like backing it up with facts, I guess, essentially. Um, Back on the soulmate side, do we have multiple soulmates in our, let's say, let's go on the relationship side. Let's go on, life partner, whatever you want to call it. Is it possible that there's many soulmates out there and not just that one?
Yes, I do believe we have multiple soulmates, romantic soulmates. So someone may be a soulmate for you at a particular time in your life. Like when I was a teenager, I had a really great soulmate who was my boyfriend, and he was exactly what I needed at that time to stabilize me and support me. However, he was not meant to stay in my life. He had to go on his separate journey, but I still consider him to be a soulmate, even though we don't speak anymore and I haven't seen him. Um, because he was there supporting my soul at a time in my life when I needed him.
Hmm. And I'm going to back up what you just said. As I say, in your life for a season or a reason,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's a beautiful way to put it.
So 3 years ago, I needed radiation for cancer. And yeah, it was all good. It was all working out. No, no worries. And I was dating somebody at the time, and she saw me after a treatment, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at that. Let me take care of that." And she put a dressing on and took care of it about everything. The relationship lasted maybe 3 months after that, and total time was like 6 months. And it was a interesting relationship. She was considerably younger than me. It was a it was good while it lasted. It was kind of crazy at times, but all good. But I realized after it was over that she was in my life to take care of me because she's a nurse.
Well, there you go. You know somebody was a really positive soulmate when you have nothing but good memories of that person. Even if, you guys might have had a couple arguments or maybe, and it ended in a rough breakup, but overall you have that feeling like that person was who I needed at that time, and you have nothing but gratitude and appreciation for that experience.
There's no doubt, and I also feel that I helped her through some things as well, but that is why she was there. And I didn't know that I was going to be dealing with that when I first met her. I didn't even know at the time that the synchronicity or the reason until after, like maybe a year after I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. That makes perfect sense now." And I had other things going on in my life at that time that made that medical situation more challenging. And she made it easier. But when you put all the pieces together, but getting that clarity, how do you find that clarity? Like it just popped in my head. And I was also on a journey to improve myself. So I was more aware of things like that. But how do you find those answers? How do you get more clarity? Is there a way to do it?
I think it's just about having faith, right? And being connected to your intuition, knowing that my conscious mind didn't know I was going to get sick and need somebody to take care of me, but God knew that that was coming, right? And understanding yourself to be part of something larger in the universe.
Do you think, and not about me, but use it as an example to illustrate what you're saying? Do you feel that I was connected with this person months before, anything medical, whatever? The universe made it happen then at that time.
Yeah, I do. I believe in divine timing and that we meet people at the exact time when we're supposed to meet them.
I do too. Because if I had just met her, it might have been different. Now we had a little bit of a history leading into that situation. Um, isn't it fascinating once you start looking at this stuff a little bit deeper?
Yeah, it makes you feel that energy of unconditional love. That is the energy that we want to cultivate with a soulmate, loving each other unconditionally.
Now, you said the word faith, and we're not necessarily tying that into religion. It's faith in the universe, if you want to call that. If it's a God, that's faith in the
Mhm.
God, faith in yourself.
Yes.
Where did do you remember the moment where you realize that I can rely on myself now in terms of I have faith in myself?
Yeah, actually, I do remember that moment. I was in my late 20s and I actually went and got therapy. And I did a type of therapy called transformational therapy that looks at all of your limiting beliefs and fears that you have subconsciously and helps you to delete them, so to speak. And in that moment, I started to believe in myself and I started to know that I was a powerful being and I could powerfully shift my reality once I let go of all those limiting fears and beliefs.
How do, through that type of counseling therapy, how did that get identified? Like for me, it was hypnotherapy.
Mhm.
And that's not the only thing that would work, but that was I knew when I talked to the practitioner, I was like, thinking back to childhood, not that it was anything bad, but there's stuff there. We all have stuff in our childhood that pilots us now. In what you did, how did you make those connections?
So my therapist handed me like a laminated card with a long list of negative beliefs on it, including things like I deserve to die, nobody loves me, I'm never going to be happy, I'm not good enough, things like that. And I was told to circle the ones that I agreed with. And then I was taught that we actually create a false identity for ourselves based on these negative beliefs and our programming and our conditioning. And we're living from that script. That's what it's called in transformational therapy. It's a script because it's a bunch of beliefs that we were programmed to create our reality from. So that was how that was done. I'm not sure exactly how, I don't remember exactly if we just talked or what, but it was almost just identifying it and seeing, oh my God, I believe that about myself. That kind of broke the spell, so to speak, and allowed me to free myself.
Wow. So seeing it before you and thinking and processing it, then you
Yeah.
realize, wait a minute, this is not true. This is what
Yeah.
I'm telling myself. What isn't it sad that so many of us can't even look in the mirror with nobody around and say, I love you? It's so hard for us to do it.
Yeah, it's sad. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And what bothers me more is the fear people have at looking at their negative beliefs. They're afraid to look at their negative beliefs because they have so much shame that something is wrong with them. And then they kind of put it in a box somewhere and they compress it. And this becomes compacted trauma that we carry around with us.
Yeah. And it's a shame that we don't see it, we don't realize it, but it's not our fault.
No,
No,
no, it's not our
it's
fault.
it's the subconscious. It's how we piloted as kids. And again, I think we skimmed on this once that it could be one little situation on the playground. You know, you got bullied on the playground once when you're in fifth grade, and you carry that limiting belief with you as an adult, just one of them. And that's just a normal situation. Kids being mean to each other happens all the
Yeah.
time. But now you carry that, and that is you. That becomes your identity. It's a lie that your subconscious is telling you based on that trauma.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important for those of us who have healed and worked through our negative beliefs and conditioning to come out and to speak and to show others that there is another way, there is another life you can live. Anyone who knew me 5 or 10 years ago would be shocked to see who I am today. But I'm living proof, I'm living evidence that you can heal yourself and you can move beyond your trauma.
Final thought. Isn't it wonderful once you get to that point, once you have that realization, once you realize that's not me, this is who I really, really am? Like, you now. Isn't it just a liberating, wonderful feeling?
Yeah, that's a big part of healing and knowing that a lot of the stuff you've been carrying around, it's not even yours. It's because your true frequency is of love, unconditional love. So a lot of the stuff we just absorb from society or from our families or, television, media, and it's not actually ours to carry. And you become so much lighter and so much more free as you let yourself cut those cords to those negative things.
Lighter's a great description. And just what you just illustrated what we said before. You said it, that it's also generational. So we're carrying it, not ours. It's a lesson that wasn't learned by somebody else in our lineage, maybe mom or dad, whatever. And now we're dealing with it. And until we learn the lesson, it's just going to continue on and on and on. The only way to do that is, I truly believe, through somebody like you that understands energy and holistic healing and helps us figure this stuff out. It is the
Yeah,
answer.
absolutely. I'm very experienced at removing negative programming, so I'm happy to share what I've learned to help other people.
Love it. Jamie, how do we connect with you? How do we find you?
You can go to my website, www.jamieserrato.com. Serrato is Serrato. You can also email me at info@jamieserrato.com.
Always great talking with you. calmerwaterscoaching.com is your website. Is
Yeah,
that right?
I'm changing my website, but you can also reach me on that website.
Gotcha. All right. Wonderful talking with you. Thanks for peeling back layers on all of the stuff that really explains why we do what we do. I really appreciate it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.